the slide again. All right. Sorry. So we have come together again on this lovely Sunday morning, as we do every 2 weeks, just to get spiritual batteries recharged, reconnect to the divine within. And perhaps one of the very important part why Swami even embarked upon the Educate program was the symphony between 3H, head, heart, and hand. And somewhere it has been lost in our mundane activities, where head thinks something, heart feels something, and the hand does something else. So it is a very important objective of the Educate that we can divinize the activities through each one of these faculties and symphonize them. That is, they come together to do the same thing, which makes possible Trikarna Shuddhi, that is heart, head, and hand coming together. So that's again an important objective of this, and to reconnect the divinity within us. And that can be done by getting the tuition from within, right? We have enough tuitions outside, and there's a time to get that intuition results into intuition, right? It's important. Some of the personalities we see, as I have seen in my case with my father, having a lot of intuition in the days when we used to see, he will just blurt out something looking at somebody, and it will come out to be true. Then go within. That becomes the true independence. That is, you become independent, inward dependent, and then we truly become independent, and to get the insight. So that's the gambit around which we try to come together in this satsang. Now, what topic we have chosen today is basically sealing on desires. All right, how Swami has explained us and why it is so deeply connected. Because end of the day, why we are happy or sad? Happy because our desires have fulfilled, sad because some of them have not, or somebody else's desires got fulfilled what we wanted it. So these are the things which have connected us, in this network. Once Mr. Karanjia, who was a Blitz editor, the famous illustrated weekly Blitz magazine those days in 70s, he asked Swami, when he got a chance to interview, you must all read this book, Man Lives in India, God Lives in India. And that's what he has authored. So he asked, from what Baba has said, it seems there is not much of difference or dichotomy between God and man. So he's asking Swami, am I right? Let's look at this in the parlance of what we are going to share on these few weeks of Sundays. Swami says, God is man and man is God. All of us have something of God, the divine spark. And then he goes on to say the difference is that while I am aware that I'm divine personified, you are not aware. Okay. And he says, I've taken this form out of my own free will, whereas you are bound to the body. The main difference is that they are shoved, that is, the man is shoved hither and thither by desire, but I have no desire. Now, that's an important parameter for us to understand why this topic is important, sealing on desires. Because here God is differentiating between a man and a God, basis absence or presence of desires. Take paddy or rice by the way of illustration, Swami says. Every grain of rice is enclosed in a husk. You have to remove the husk to get into the rice. Now, husk and rice both come from the same seed. Rice is God, whereas the husk is desire. How beautifully, very simply, he's got such wonderful way of explaining things, because he knows in Kali Yuga, those high funda shlokas, mantras, tantras, and those yogas will not help. People have to connect to the basics. And that's why he says how beautifully, how desire and Godhood is hidden by the desire. So life plus desire is man. Life minus desire is God. That was the explanation Bhagwan gave to him in the interview. So that sets the tone and the pace for the topic that Bhagwan has motivated us to take, sealing on desires. Now we know that we are born again and again. When Kasturiji asked and he said, why are we born? Swami said, because of this reason. What happens after birth? Swami said, this is what happens. That is, you die and you get born again. Why? Because we did not give our exams nicely. So we are come here back to give the supplementary exams. Now, why have we come back? Again, we spoke at length on karma, destiny, fate. We remember 5 weeks of those, we had those satsang. Now, the slide is taken out from there. It's very important that when we are born with certain bundle of sanchit karma. That is the karmic residues, the unfulfilled desires, which remain there as a seed which is not germinated. And it has to take birth for fulfilling those desires, right? So how important this topic is, sealing of desire, because we are getting back into the cycle because of some reason where desire is propagating it. Desire is propelling this. Then from Sanchit Karma, we take a portion which comes as Prarabdha Karma. Then we start doing certain actions in this particular phase, which makes the Agami Karma. And then the cycle goes on. So every time we are taking a small portion from the Sanchit Karma, not a big portion, and then we are coming enacting our dramas. So how important it is, just as the lightning, with one flash on the charcoal, the whole nature of the charcoal from black becomes, white or gray. And no matter how much you, again, do everything, try to convert it, it will never convert. And that one lightning strike is the grace of the God. Never mind what Sanchit Karma we have, brothers and sisters, whatever we have come from, whatever we have done, His one light of grace, if it falls on us, if we deserve that by our samarpan, by our devotion, then obviously we will be liberated from all this cycle. All right. So and until such a grace we are able to deserve, it's important to embark this journey. Otherwise, we'll keep punarapi jananam, puranapi vanam. This keep coming on and on again and sitting through this life cycles, which is not so pleasant to deal with, right? And by the time we realize in our 50s, 60s, 70s that, oh, we should have gone this way, it's too late. It's very important we embark this journey as early as possible, not in the stages when our bones are weak, when our health has withered away, when our mental faculty has given up. That's too late. Never mind, we can still join, but we have wasted a lot of time in our life. So it's important that we get our acts together and embark upon this journey. Now, Bhagavan says, very important, life is an interval between birth and death, a procession towards the grave. It starts the moment we are born. Now look at the way he defines the birth. He says you're born, but you are marching every day, every moment towards the grave. Because that's one hard fact, one truth that we have to understand. The phenomena world is like a hotel which you come to experience consequences of your actions. The body is a room in the hotel which you have come to undergo the consequences. When you're born, your neck hangs around a necklace. He says that necklace is the necklace of past karmas, sanskaras, unfulfilled desires. And when you die, you do not take anything except the same necklace back, whatever good or bad that you have done, right? So Bhagavan says you're always decked with this kind of a garland. So karma is the cause of birth, the soul being compelled to undergo any ordeal. And why we are doing karma, when we look around, are we doing nishkama karma? That's an important thing, brothers and sisters, that we have spoken earlier. Nishkama karma, again, we spoke about detachment from the fruits of action. And until we are not doing that nishkama karma, every karma is an offshoot of a desire that you have in life, right? Why you go to office? Because you want to get paid, you want to breed your family. Why you want to breed your family? Because it's a sense of duty towards your children. Why you want to put them in the school? Because you want them to become good citizens or well educated. Again, that's a desire. So everything is born. The seed is the desire. And that's why Bhagavan said, life plus desire is equal to man. Life minus desire is God. That brings us very, very close to this particular thing, sealing on desires. Why we have to get this fundamentals clear about it as in Bhagavan's own terms. Right? This is a graphic representation of how God plus desires is equal to human, and when human minus ego is equal to desires, difference between Deha Bhiman and Atma Bhiman we have spoken about, and that makes us to understand that if we are life plus desires, we remain as man, and we think we are human beings, whereas to have a spiritual experience, but that's wrong. We are not human beings to have spiritual experience. We have come here as spiritual beings to have a human experience. The whole dimension of this existence on this planet changes. And that's why we should be very clear on these fundamentals. These are very important fundamentals. Now, these two last slides, what is put up, it's extremely important. Nazariya badal jata hai. Our perspective to life changes. Are we humans struggling to have a human spiritual experience? Or are we happy, blissful, and nice spiritual beings? We know what's going on in the master plan. We have come down to have a human experience. Why? Because we need to clear certain part of our karmas, certain part of those desires which we had created and not fulfilled them. So it's an important dimension to understand how we want to exist, with what perspective we want to exist. All right. So now, just as every organization has got its own structure, right? We all working in organization with different levels of, executive management level, senior management level, so on and so forth. Similarly, the desired organization structure is an important part that we must understand in that parlance. Now, What is the desire organization structure? It is born out of the ego, sense of I or attachment. Kama, Krodha, Lobha. Now tell me anything which is not connected to desire. Each one of this is an offshoot of desire, right? Kama is to want to desire something, to want to own something. Krodha is again something desire which is not fulfilled leads to Krodha. Lobha is again you want more of this, again a desire. Moha is I love somebody, or I'm so affectionate or passionate about somebody, or possessed or obsessed with somebody, again it's desire. Mada is sense of arrogance because you have achieved something, because it's again something connected to that, and Matsari is jealousy. These are important organization structure where desire resides. Then it is controlled by five senses, the five gateways through which the world comes into our being, through which we allow them. Now, these are the filters that we have installed, the windows that we have installed for, suppose you are sitting in your home and suddenly get a bad order. You know why? Because some garbage truck is going or whatever is happening. What do? You close the windows, right? That makes sense, so that we don't get affected by that bad odor. Now, do we do that with these five windows that we have in our body? Do we actually close them? Do we shut our eyes when we see something wrong? Do we actually close our ears? Stop shouting at somebody or reacting, close our mouth? These are important things to connect, to understand that these five senses are important gateways, right, through which the world comes in and instigates, provokes the desire, right, to do something. Now, leading up to this boss, the main boss, as you go up, again, the subordinate boss or the next boss is moha, that is attachment, right, which we saw in the bottom. But actually, it is a very, very important thing when you look around in the history, in all our, in all our scriptures and the stories of the past when things happened in Mahabharata or Ramayana. Again, it's a sense of moha. Why did Kekai take that oath from Dashratha? Because she had a moha. She wanted to see her son to be the king. Never mind, she's imprisoning or exiling the Lord himself. That's how our mind, vinash kale viparita buddhi. When things are going to happen bad, our mind or the faculty of thinking really weakens down. And we can't think positive. We can't think right. All right. So that moha is the next boss, and the biggest boss is a sense of ego, sense of I, sense of minus, sense of me. That is the main CEO of this company called Desires. All right. So it's very important to understand where and how the hierarchy flows. All right. So moving on from this, why do we need ceiling on desires? Okay, we're talking about it. We'll break into various things. Why ceiling on desires? What is ceiling on desires, and how do we do ceiling on desires? All right. So let's check on this particular portion. Why ceiling on desires? Now, let me ask any one city. Maybe we have Brother Shri Kumar is there and Brother Anupam is there. So, Brother Shri, I mean, why do you feel ceiling on desires is important? Why is that a necessity to think about being a Sai devotee? Brother Shri Kumar.
Sairam, brother. So,
Sairam. Just a couple of minutes. Why you feel it important?
it is an extemper question. Okay, good. Okay, see, any time Swami told, right? So when we are in this journey, as you mentioned, the difference between Lord and man is simply the word desire. Okay, the more you control, you will be going closer to God. If
Correct.
you take that particular slide and that particular, so I'm just not
Yes.
going to detail otherwise. I'm
Yeah.
focusing on that uh, formula only.
That's right.
The
Okay.
formula is
Fantastic.
man plus God. Sorry, man plus desire
Desire.
is
Life.
sorry,
I mean,
sorry.
life plus desire is man.
Is
Life plus
life
desire.
plus desire is man, and life minus desire is God. So
Yeah.
simply is like that. The
Yeah.
more we reduce, the more we reduced our desires, we are coming close to the uh, God. And end of the day, our destiny, everybody wants to merge with the Lord, but we don't know how many how many births we need in that journey to reach that level. That's what Swami very clearly told.
Correct.
The life minus desire is Lord. So the sealing of desires help us to tend to God, because we may not reach in a one attempt or one iteration. Probably we have
Yes,
several
yes.
iterations,
Several iterations.
but several iterations. However, every time we take away one or other or control that, and that will make us closer and closer in our journey towards Lord. So that is what in the
Wonderful.
simple line. But
Wonderful.
what is the side? We will get some side products, as
Yeah.
you mentioned.
Yeah.
The desires unfilled will go and create krodha,
Yeah.
anger. So
Yes.
most of the time, unfilled desires is the root cause for our angry.
Correct. Correct.
We may want something, we are maybe looking for
Correct.
something, we are not able to achieve it. That is instigation to build the trigger
Correct.
anger, fire. All right.
Correct.
So
Correct.
the after fire, what will happen? If anger is there, it will be physical, mental, verbal, or all kind of torture.
Correct.
It will impact the relationships, impact
True.
all your life and personality and health, moreover, right?
True.
So everything will be
Becomes
impacted
a chain
further. So
reaction.
it's
Becomes a
a
chain
chain
reaction.
reaction.
Yeah.
So we should
Absolutely.
go till down to the bottom and the root. It is single word.
True.
And the formula is very straightforward and simple. Life minus desires is God. That's
Yeah.
what I can
Correct.
explain.
Thanks. Thanks. So it's very important. When a child is born, you want the child to become an engineer, doctor, or lawyer, or PhD, or whatever. But you can't straight away give him the PhD lessons, right? Okay, we life minus desire is our objective to become. But like what he was saying, several iterations. So we have to go several step by step. KG, nursery, primary, secondary, and then. So Bhagwan knows that it is not so easy. So he has given us easy formulas for the as we go around. Anybody else wants to share a couple of minutes? Maybe Brother Satya or Brother Anupam. Anything you want to put on how you look at it? How important is sealing on desires for you? Anyone?
Yes, I think this is Swami always says less luggage, more comfort. This also is the same thing in our plan.
Yes.
Similar day-to-day life is also the same. Don't take anything into personal or into a heart. Anything, and not necessary to be a monitoring. The desires is all the evil qualities also. Is also important. The karma, krodha, lobha, moha, machaya, all also have impact on the human presence of human body. So that's what it is. Everything. Don't take it so deep into
Seriously.
anything, and the desires is also one of the way to control. Just focus more what is
Fantastic.
as light as possible. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautifully, simply paid, less luggage, more comfort. That Swami has said. And Swami says, be like a maid who is working in the house, who no matter how much she plays with the child for years, she knows, despite all that she's not the mother, she doesn't feel attached. Whereas the mother is always so attached, right? Less luggage, more. So this is the journey that we are in. Great. Okay, let's move on. So why sealing on desire? Let's see. It's a very important part for us to remind ourselves that the 9 code of conduct that Bhagwan has laid up for Sai devotees, Swami's devotees all over. There's a basic minimum that as a part of curriculum, conscious activity that we must do. Sealing on desire is ninth, the last but the most important, one of the most important one, putting practice the sealing of desires. And that's why it requires us to delve deeper into it to understand why Bhagwan has put sealing on desires. So we all saw, like Brother Sri and Brother Satya said, life minus desire is God. And what is our objective of all the satsang is basically to realize the divinity within. But is it so easy to straight away go into PhD? No. So we have to go step by step into the classrooms. So this is one reason why we have to practice sealing of desires. I remember the drive in 60th birthday of Bhagwan 1985. There was this rather in 5 years back, I think 1980 this was launched sealing of desires. 1985 was a report card kind of thing that people were presenting what they're doing it. So initially started with that guidance what Bhagwan is given, but what happened eventually was it became a money saving exercise rather than a habit changing exercise, rather than a personality changing exercise. So then this was importantly again clarified with wide several discourses that Bhagwan did. that what actually it means. That means you save a portion from your own. That is, you part with your own self for somebody else, right? What you like most, but you can get away with that and do it for someone. That is actually a ceiling on desires. All right. Okay, let's go on. So yeah, so everything boils, as we saw, the CEO of the company, desire is ego, right? Ego is the one through which all these have germinated, right? They have come out in various form: Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Mad, Moh, Matsarya, everything, right? And the very fact that I is there, the sense of, connection or attachment to the body. I is not only arrogance, it's connection. Whatever we are doing, we are identifying with certain things, not disconnecting ourselves. Desire becomes a part, like a glue, which connects us to that attachment, right? Our personality to the attachment. So Bhagavan says desire is a storm. Look at this beautiful. He says man's enemy number one is ego. And then he goes on to say desire is a storm. Greed is the whirlpool. All right. Pride is the precipice. Attachment is avalanche. And ego is volcano. Discard desire. Now look at this statement. Discard desire and you are liberated. So he's saying all these things are starting from the bedrock called desire and then coming up into a form of a volcano. How important, how more emphatic it can be to understand why working consciously on our desires, controlling them, sealing them. Now again, sealing has got different meanings and different spellings. One is SEAL, one is CIAL, So how do we understand this? We'll see in the slides to come. But very important, this slide, he's reaffirming that remove desire and then everything is gone. It's like you are standing in front of the mirror, right? You see a reflection of the mirror. Swami says in worldly mathematics, 1 plus 1 is equal to 2, right? That is you and mirror. But in spiritual mathematics, they say no, 1 plus 1 is equal to 3. Why? Because your reflection is also there. So it is 3 of you. The moment you remove mirror, the rest of the 2 is gone and you remain alone, right? And that is what is Bhagavan. That is what is realization. So it's important that discard the desire, get liberated. And how do we go about it? Why is the world in a position where the world is in? And why we are talking about it? Why Bhagavan laid this ceiling on desires? Swami says, as a result of uncontrolled desires and reckless exploitation of natural resources, nature is exhibiting frightening proportions, disorders. And what can be more that we saw in the recently havoc created by Corona, where a sense of greed to do more research, to create, biological weapons, or for that matter, do researches which are intending for so, led to totally a world coming to a complete stage of peril. All right. And that is what he's saying. Natural calamities like earthquake, volcanic eruptions, droughts, floods are a result of disturbances in the balance brought into nature by the reckless exploitation of the natural resources. Exploitation. That means we have been misusing it. We have been storing, it's like when you are in summer, you see when we go to India in summer, sometimes there's water, crisis. Even though you need just one drum, you can see that people hoard drums and drums, even though they are not going to use it, depriving others. And then what it has to be extracted from somewhere, right? So that is what Swami is saying. Mankind today appears like a foolish man who's wielding the axe at the same branch that he's sitting. So when we look around the havoc, the natural calamities, the man-made calamities happening around us, I think the entire thing boils down to our own desire, which germinates, which comes as a form of greed or anger or, or arrogance or pride or whatever, or jealousy. But the root is desire. Okay. Who can cure the present blindness? Man has to slay the sixfold enemies which has caught hold of man. As you can see, the man is really helpless. Why? Because he has allowed this. He didn't close the windows of the 5 senses and allowed this Kama, Krodh, Lobh, Mad, Moha to come in, which has now started pulling him. And then Swami says the only way is to control this by holding on, slaying the sixfold enemies, that's the Vargas, so that dharma can be restored. Let's listen into Swami in this small video, why and what he says about stealing on desires.
మూడవ శత్రువు మానవుని యందు నకసిక పర్యంతము ఆపాద మస్తకములకు కూడాను వ్యాపించి ఉంటుండాలి.
The third enemy is spread from top to toe.
కామం హిత్వా కామం హిత్వార్థవాన్ భవతి అనగా కోరికలు అనేటువంటిది మానవుని యందు తీరేటువంటిది కాదు.
The desires cannot be fulfilled totally.
జీవితమంతయు కూడాను కోరికల చేతనే నిండి ఉంటున్నది.
The whole life is full of desires.
ఒక్కడ తీరిన తక్షణమే మరి 10 కోరికలు అభివృద్ధి అవుతుంటాయి.
The satisfaction of one desire would lead to many to follow.
మానవుని యొక్క జీవితమే కోరికల యొక్క మూట.
The life is the bundle of desires.
ఈ కోరికలను తృప్తిపరచుకునేటువంటి మానవ జగత్తులో కానరాడు.
There's none here in this world who had their desires satisfied
కనుకనే
fully.
కోరికలు ఉండినంత వరకు కూడాను వీనికి ఏ అభిష్టం కూడాను నెరవేరదు.
So long he has got the desire, he cannot be
ఏ
satisfied.
పదార్థం కూడాను వీనికి చేజిక్కదు.
He cannot have anything.
కనుక మొట్టమొదట ఈ కోరికలను అదుపులో పెట్టుకోవాలి.
Therefore, he must have ceiling on desire.
ఏనాడు ఈ మానవుడు తన కోరికలను అదుపులో పెట్టుకును అప్పుడు తన యొక్క సర్వ సంకల్పము కూడా సిద్ధింపజేస్తుంది.
The moment he exercises check on his desire, he can have his plans executed.
సర్వ సంపదలు కూడా అతనికి చేకూరుతాయి.
He will be successful in all.
కోరికలు ఉండినంత వరకు కూడా తన ఎన్ని ఉన్నటువంటి సంపత్తు కూడా కోల్పోతాడు.
So long their desire, the existing wealth is lost.
So long there is desire, the existing wealth is lost. So there is Swami, why he is saying about stealing on desires, why it is so important for us to be really, practicing it in our lives. Just as Brother Satya was echoing, I'm sure he was not aware of this slide, but he spoke where Swami spoke through him. Less luggage, more comfort. Having more desires, which one is more convenient? So more luggage is like having more desires. You are sitting, you're getting into a train, but you're still holding on the luggage on your head. We need to keep it out, right? To keep it on the berths. So where does this desire come from? Demand, right? And where does demand come from? Greed. Again, it is offshoot of desire. We want more, even than more what we need. So there is a differentiation which comes between want and need, whether I want it or I need it. And that's an absolute discrimination that we have to make in life. When we see the monkeys, how they're being held in the villages or they're being caught, is basically when something is put in a pot, a banana or a laddu or whatever. So monkey goes and puts his hand and picks it up. But the problem is with the fist on, it cannot come out of the narrow neck of the pot. And the monkey thinks something is holding inside, whereas the only way he can come out is release that piece of laddu or whatever he has held inside. Now that's exactly what happens to us. We want liberation, we want everything, but we don't want to leave the desires. We don't want to leave the attachments. We don't want to leave our greed, our arrogance. How do we come out of it? It's impossible. So it's important we understand what we are releasing step by step, like Brother Sri Kumar was saying. Step by step, it's a journey. We certainly cannot be a yogi, right? Certainly if we have not started on the journey. But important part is, have we started on the journey? Have we taken an admission into the right school? Have we got out into the right bus to reach that destination? It's important. Because sometimes we are so intoxicated, like the dog and the bone. Dog is chewing the bone, and then after some chewing, what happens is gums is getting injured. And due to the gums getting injured, he's getting blood out of the gums. The dog thinks the blood is coming out of the bone and keeps chewing and hurting himself, and this goes on and on and on. It symbolically represents, brothers and sisters, that we in this world, in our own lifespan, we are getting so much attached to things. We are getting so much desired. We want a car, a house, or whatever thing which may not be a necessity at all times, and we bleed a lot for them, thinking that it's giving us the pleasure, but at the same time we are bleeding, not realizing that's the source, what is causing us the harm as well. All right. So Bhagwan says, when the eagle moves past with a fish in the beak, the eagle with the fish in the beak is chased by the crows, as we have seen. And the only way that the eagle can get rid of the crows chasing them is when they release the fish. In this particular thought of the day, Swami says the crows swish past the eagle to steal the fish. They pursue the bird wherever it sits. At last the eagle gives up the attachment and drops it, the crows fly after the fish and the leaves the eagle free. So too, when you give up sensual pleasures, the crows of pride, envy, malice, jealousy will fly away and leave you in peace. How beautifully he has explained, right? So it's not that desire is just, we told you, it's the head of those Arstha Vargas where things have started. And Bhagavan says you drop desire and you get rid of ego, you get rid of arrogance, pride, moha, maha, lobha, everything. So we have this famous story of Gajendra Moksha, right? Where we understand symbolically that when he went into one of the ponds, he was caught by the crocodile. And then for years, Gajendra Moksha tried to liberate himself, get rid of that crocodile. He could not do it. Could not do it. And when his final energy and his final time was coming that he cannot endure this anymore, that's the time surrender kept him. He cried out and Lord Narayana appeared. So this story is symbolic again of the fact that what does it represent? The lake or the water that which he gets in is samsara, or the maya, or the maya, the desire that he had to come in. Then crocodile is what? Crocodile is basically the moment you step into this maya, into this world, into the sense of attachment, ego, or deha bhimana, then all the crocodiles in the form of desires, lobha, mada, moha, everything comes and starts attacking you, right? Which we don't think is an attack, but actually it is, right? They all engulf us to a point that finally we want to get off this, and it's too late. We just can't come out of it because we have got so involved soulfully, bodily into these relationships that we have built. That's really difficult to retract. And that's when we cry out finally, when the times are coming where we know we are about to go. It's too late at times, brothers and sisters, then we cry out. And we cry out sincerely that yes, Lord does appear that time, comes into that and saves us. And that is the Sharanagati moment. Okay. So why we tend to understand that we succumb to desires? We have all the potential to be liberated. It's like elephants in Kerala also, when they are born, when a small baby elephant, they're tied with small ropes, right? And they are trained in a way that as long as the rope is there, they will not move. Now they have a connection psychologically into the system, into this subtle being that this is binding me. Now when the elephant grows up, it's got more power and strength, but still that elephant is tied with the same small rope. Now the elephant can break that rope, but why it is not able to break is because it has that part of slavery, or I would say by attachment or binding inbuilt in the system, that it cannot move free. And what we have done is we have done similarly. We know that we can be free, but we have covered ourselves with all these attachments, all this moha, krodha, lobha, things like that. The only way the elephant can, liberate is by breaking it, become mad, or get totally drunk. The only way we can come out is become totally mad for the Lord. Change the direction of the love. Divangi ho jaye, become totally lost and crazy for the Lord's love. Obviously, everything else will frither away and wither away. All right. In Bhagavad Gita, it says material desires, when unsatiated, in chapter 5, verse 23, generates anger. Now look at the offshoot of this. It generates anger if it is not satisfied, and thus the mind and the eyes just become agitated. Therefore, one must practice control. Now, what happens when you are getting angry? It doesn't end up there, brothers and sisters. That anger has its own reaction from the counterparts, and then the chain reaction from here and there, and things keeps going on and on. All right. Okay. So we have spoken about why sealing of desires, because we know that that's the only way out if you want to reach God or to become a part of His image. That Bhagavan said, I separated myself from myself to love myself. Why? Because we have the same ansha of Divyadatma Swarupalara. Now, what is basically sealing on desires? We know that it is important, right? Why we have to do it, because Bhagavan has explained very clearly. Now, what is sealing on desires? I think we are reaching almost 7:25. We have another 5 minutes. We can get into this, but let's get into initial definitions of Bhagavan as he has put it. Bhagavan says man is deluded by his unlimited desires. He is living in a dream world. He's forgetting supreme consciousness, correct? We are all intoxicated in this world. How much time we come together in 2 weeks? Of course, we do individual sadhana depending on our own spiritual appetite. We do that, but not 24 hours, not 10 hours when we are in the office, not a time when we are distracted by outside world. That's why he says you are forgetting the supreme consciousness. That is why it is important to keep our desires under control, to place a ceiling on them. Now he talks about sealing on them, not the seal the deal, we seal it. Okay, we seal the desire. That means we got it. No, no. He's talking about that other ceiling, which is the roof, which is the limit. And then Bhagavan says we are spending too much money instead of inordinate spending for our own pleasure. We should be spending on the relief of poor and needy. Are we doing that? Think about, we have every forum to do it. Some people, tan man dhan, it doesn't have to necessarily expression in the currency form. You spend your own part of salary. You spare your own part of physical effort to do a seva, like a lot of brothers and sisters here in this group also go and do the seva in the temple when they cook for everyone. And then Swami says we should be spending for really poor needed. This is the real meaning of sealing on desires. Now he's telling us a real meaning, that is, if actually we are saving on that part, then we are using it for somebody who is impoverished, unfortunate to have lived the life that he has given us, or deprived of something which are basic necessities. That is true sealing on desires. Do not make mistake of thinking that giving money is all needed. It's very easy to give money. So, in fact, said, don't give money to beggars. Go there. When you are be with them, share them, give them food, but talk to them. We may not be able to make a difference so much, but at least by talking to them, they have somebody to listen to the woes and stories. When I was in India, whatever little time I could get to go out and be with them, it was not about sharing the night dinner or food with them, but it's more sitting down and understanding them as a rickshawala, how much they are earning, how many members they have, how much they are able to feed it. You should listen to that and feel that how blessed you are that Bhagavan has kept you out of that circle of kriya, of the destiny. And they are all doing, I think, many more effort because they're working 12 to 14 hours a day, but earning peanuts, right? So when you sit down, talk to them, share with them, tell them what you can do, a little bit of it, they feel so happy about it. And that's important, brothers and sisters. Do not give to others, Bhagavan says, by allowing your own desires to. This is something very practical. It's so important. While we thrive in what we are doing, we are enjoying, we are going to movies, we are doing everything, and very little portion of it, and give ourselves, give a pat on the back. Okay, I gave on seva this much, $20. But I went to a restaurant, a 5-star, $60 buffet per person, fantastic giving. This is what he makes a difference. You can't say you are carrying on doing it, because sealing is all, desire is all about cutting down your wants. That is, if you can get away with that, save that money and then give it. All right? Curtail your desires, as materialistic desires lead to restless and disastrous life. Desires are like prison. You can see the photograph on the right and the left, which shows desires are like prison. What more can be said? Because they've incarcerated us. Unknowingly, we are into this, invisible fetters, I would say, around us, thinking that they are giving us joy, but actually they have incarcerated us. Man can be freed only by limiting his wants. You should have desire only for the life's bare necessities. Of course, I am guilty of not complying to the statements, to Bhagwan's discourses, that are we only having bare necessities? If only I had understood that, Soumya, my daughter, would not have been staying here that long, or Bhavna would have been coming and going, or things, I could have got into a 2-bedroom house. So this was again something which could have been avoided, had the proper calculations or things known. Like this, there are several instances where we sit down and understand that could this be avoided. I got away with the car, of course, but then if I get away with the car and keep taking Ola and Grab every day, it doesn't make any difference to what our pursuit for sealing on desires. Yeah, somebody wants to say something? Sorry. Okay. So this is an important inroad to our topic. I think somewhere we are talking about I want peace. most of the time we want peace, right? But when somebody asked Bhagwan, Bhagwan said that I want peace, it's the ego, want is the desire. I is ego and want is desire. Remove ego and desire. That is, you remove I and desire is want, and what is left, brothers and sisters, is only peace. The moment we remove the sense of attachment, the moment we remove the desires, what we are left is peace. And that peace is not Shanti, it is a supreme peace, which is Prashanti, which will take us on this journey forward, understanding the basics, what sealing desires actually is. I think with that, we come to an end for the sessions today, brothers and sisters. Thanks for joining. If you have something to share, please do open your video and share now. Otherwise, we'll end up with Samastaloka for today's session. Anyone has anything to add? Brother Anupam, anything you want to share? Okay. All right. So we end up the session with Samastaloka.
Sairam.
Yes.
Sairam Hindu brother.
Yes, brother. Please open your video.
Thank you very much for these sessions.
Yeah.
This is basically about the spiritual journey, our individual spiritual journey.
Yeah, brother.
And I do believe that Swami has made it so simple. All of us realize that what is good, what is bad, but the big thing is that how do we go about it?
Yeah.
And I think the sealing of desires, what desire is, and how do we go about sealing them, reducing them?
Yeah.
Which helps us move, progress in our spiritual journey.
Yes.
So I think that equation which you gave out in the beginning, the Shastri also, reinforced it.
Yeah.
It is. I think this sealing of desires perhaps is among the most important sessions, which
Yes.
gives us a path of how to go about attaining the divinity, and how quickly we can go there and achieve our, move, progress quickly in our spiritual journey.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, brother.
Sairam brother,
Yes,
normally brother Shastri used to say 108 names.
Yes, please.
Okay, since he's not present today,
Yeah.
probably I just fill up because let us see the
Sure.
keep ball rolling. Okay, so let me come tell about 108 names. One of them is Kama Krodha Dhvamsine Namaha.
Uh-huh.
So, which is connected to this exactly what we are discussed today. Kama Krodha Dhvamsine Namaha. So, what is Kamam? That is desire, nothing but desire. And what is Krodha? It is a subset of desire. It is the angerness. Dhomsine, it's killing. So he's the one killing Kama and Krodha. And Swami made a small story. It's not a story, very small incident. Okay, about it. The incident is some period ago, a family visited Puttaparthi to Swami from Mumbai. The family came from Mumbai, visited Swami. So Swami told, when next time I come to Mumbai, I visit your home. So they went back, and so this desire build up. Swami will come my home, right? At the family, they were all expecting Swami to come to the home. And later, sometime, Swami visited Mumbai. And during the visit, the family went and see Swami in Dharmashetra, and Swami, but during the visit, nobody is mentioning about Swami's visit to the place or house of this family. So this family was a little bit disappointed. So they went and asked Swami, you told you will be coming my home, and nothing, when it is happening. Then Swami told this family, see, you are staying in a gully, very small way. If I come there, complete life of the people will be disturbed. People low, big crowd will be there. Lot of problem is traffic jam, all the things. Everybody will be disturbed if I come there. The moment I announce that I am coming to your house, then all the ways it will be crowded, traffic jam, lot of problem will come. That is lot of problem for all the people around. I really don't want to disturb the life of all the people. So this is what Swami told mother. When mother heard about that, she got disappointed. And the daughter immediately little bit, angry about Swami, saying, look, because Swami is declining that, right? And so the anger was built up the doctor. So her face was changed. So Swami looked at her face and told, oh, you become angry. Because I told, right, you become angry. So she did not reply because she's not happy with the Swami. So the desire became unfilled and it became anger. Then Swami told her, okay, if you want to fulfill your desire to come to your house, I can come and spend 30 minutes or 1 hour max to your home. But do you want that, or do you want me to reside your home lifelong? Which option you want? So this question came from Swami. The moment she got stuck, okay, which option she should tell? Asking Swami to physically come and 30 minutes to stay there, or whole life Swami with them throughout their life at their home and family. So they give up the desire Swami to physically come home, and I accepted the second option what Swami told. And they become very happy. And later at their home, they experience the presence of Swami several ways. Okay. So this small story, not story incident, narrated how the desire become unfilled desire become anger, and when it become desireless, and Swami himself installs there. That's what Kama Krodha Dvamsini Nama.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, brother. Good you reminded that. Yes. And let's move on. We conclude this session by Omkar and Samastaloka. Samastaloka sukhino bhavantu. Samastaloka sukhino bhavantu. Samastaloka sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. जय बोलिए भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय. Sai Ram, brothers and sisters, have a wonderful Sunday.
Thank you, brother Bindu. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. We'll connect again.
Sai Ram.
Thank you. Sai Ram.